Today on Public Eye News, a Michigan woman was attacked by a deer in Augury, and the former student charged in the 2018 Parkland shooting appeared in court today.
Later, Andrew Hoover will have your weather, and Mike will be back with your sports update. Hi, I'm Ross Ray.
And I'm Michael Cudahy, and this is Public Eye News. A woman was attacked by a wild deer in Aroostook County, Michigan. The woman, Patty Jean Willis, was tending to chickens in the backyard of her Augury area home when she was charged by the deer. The animal pinned her to the ground and pierced her with its antlers before her son, Luke Willis, came outside and scared it off when he heard her screams. The deer made another charge at the two, but they made it inside their home. Willis was hospitalized for 3 days and had to receive 21 stitches to numerous wounds. Some believe the deer is the same one local family kept as a pet before releasing it last summer under pressure from the state, although authorities say it's impossible to know for sure. And pesky leaves in the way? Well, we have some tips on how to deal with them. If you want, you can use them as compost by placing them in a compost bin and letting the nutrients seep into the soil. You can also just leave them alone in your yard, and if your neighbors are bothered by them, maybe knowing that salamanders, chipmunks, wood frogs, box turtles, toads, and insects live in leaf layers might change their colors. You could also just burn them, but if you do, check the burn permit to see what the conditions are, and make sure to check your local burn ordinances to and also always remember to make sure you have water if you're going to go the burning route. And if you're unsure if burning is allowed in your area, call your local fire department. Next, we have this week's fishing report. Starting in Autrain, a number of boat anglers were out targeting lake trout and reporting catches with fish averaging around 3 to 5 pounds. Most anglers were fishing around 100 to 120 feet down, mainly around Shelter Bay and just outside of Autrain Island. Headed down to Lake Michigan in Little Bay, Danock, anglers fishing out of Kipling had some success with perch and walleye. In Big Bay, Danock, anglers found success catching northern pike, smallmouth bass, and walleye in deeper water. Up in the Keweenaw Bay, anglers were reporting lake trout, coho, and chinook catches out of the Keweenaw Bay. Anglers had success with catching salmon on shore and at the river mouths. Fishing was best in the morning and more so than in the afternoons. Finally, right here in Marquette, boat anglers were primarily targeting coho and chinook with very few caught. A few lake trout were caught while trolling. Lake trout appeared to be staging shallower for spawning. Some boat anglers were out of the Chocolate River with a few steelhead, coho, and brown trout observed. Mornings provided the best action.
And in addition to that fishing report, the Michigan Natural Resources Commission today approved new regulations aimed at protecting fish populations in a newly acquired state game area in Lake Ogibic, allowing for increased harvest opportunities for northern pike on several lakes throughout the state. The star walleye regulations on Lake Ogibic are returning to statewide 15-inch minimum size limits, with daily possession limit of 5 fish in response to concerns from anglers over greatly reduced walleye catches. Additionally, northern pike regulations will move to a no minimum size limit with a daily possession limit of 5 fish, of which only 1 may be greater than 24 inches. And this change is in response to increasing northern pike abundance with a high proportions of population being smaller than 24 inches. You can visit the DNR website to check out what lakes near you qualify for these new regulations. And yesterday, the Michigan House of Representatives signed legislation that would eliminate taxation of feminine hygiene products. With bipartisan support, the new legislation will eliminate the 6% sales tax on menstrual products as luxury items. The removal of the so-called tampon tax will apply to tampons, panty liners, menstrual cups, sanitary napkins, and other products designed for feminine hygiene products in connection with women's menstrual cycles. According to the Periodic Equity, Michigan joins at least 20 states that have either ended the taxation of such products or never had the tax in the first place. And don't go too far, because after this break, we'll be back with your national and international news. Stay tuned.
Coming up on Austin City Limits.
Saturday night at 11.
Welcome back. The Alisal fire west of Santa Barbara, California only grew slightly Thursday. Containment of the blaze has also grown from 5% to 41%, allowing for the reopening of US 101, the region's main highway, which has been closed since Monday. 400 buildings were threatened by the blaze, with only 3 homes and 2 outbuildings being destroyed. The fire started on Monday when fierce winds raged down the countrysides. Weather initially delayed some firefighting efforts, but it has since changed and has allowed for planes and helicopters to drop retardant and water on the blaze. The ground force is currently about 1,700 firefighters. Today, an outside FDA panel of advisors unanimously greenlit Johnson & Johnson's request to give its COVID-19 booster emergency use authorization. Part of the recommendation says the second dose should come at least 2 months after recipients have gotten their first Johnson & Johnson dose. Skylar Henry reports from outside FDA headquarters in Silver Springs, Maryland.
An FDA advisory panel has voted to recommend Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 booster shot for some who've already received 1 dose.
Some data was provided today in this regard, but there are other data out there that also suggest waning efficacy or effectiveness of the vaccine, particularly in certain populations such as diabetics.
Today, the group of experts also hears data on a study by the National Institutes of Health, which found mixing vaccines from different manufacturers for a booster shot is safe. The study, which has not yet been peer-reviewed, also found that Johnson & Johnson recipients benefited more from getting a Moderna or Pfizer booster. Thursday, the FDA panel voted to recommend Moderna's booster for Americans over the age of 65 or high risk.
We do have a unanimous 19 out of 19 yes votes.
Full FDA authorization could come in days. Then the CDC would meet next week to provide guidance, which means a full rollout of Moderna booster shots could come as soon as next Friday. Pfizer's booster shot was the first approved for seniors and high-risk individuals. According to CDC data, more than 9 million Americans have received a booster dose.
They're free, available, and convenient to get.
President Biden says the country is making progress against the pandemic, but he's urging the tens of millions of still unvaccinated eligible Americans to roll up their sleeves. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Silver Spring, Maryland.
The former student charged in the 2018 shooting rampage at Parkland, Florida High School that left 17 people dead appeared in court today. Attorneys for Nicholas Cruz says he will plead guilty to the killings next week. Michael George has the latest from New York.
Nicholas Cruz walked into a Florida courtroom Friday morning, prepared to plead guilty to killing 14 students and 3 faculty members at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School on Valentine's Day 2018. He previously pleaded not guilty.
It is our intent to enter a change of plea to all charges.
But the judge said she would not accept that plea until another hearing set for next Wednesday. Cruz's attorneys told the court their client intends to accept responsibility for 17 counts of first-degree murder and 17 counts of attempted first-degree murder, hoping he can avoid the death penalty. Prosecutors argue Cruz deserves a death sentence and have not made a plea deal.
In count 1 of the information, you're charged with attempted aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer.
During Friday's hearing, Judge Elizabeth Scherer did accept the 23-year-old's guilty plea for an attack on a jail guard that happened 9 months after the shooting.
How do you wish to plead?
Cruz's trial for the shooting has been delayed due to the pandemic and arguments between lawyers. Michael George, CBS News.
The Fatimiyya Shiite mosque in the Afghan Kandahar province was attacked by suicide bombers, killing at least 47 people and wounding 70. While there has been no immediate claim for the responsibility of the bombing, this attack came only a week after a bombing killed 46 people in a Shiite mosque in northern Afghanistan. A series of attacks have raised fears that this could be a possible enemy of both the Taliban and the West that is expanding its foothold in Afghanistan. And earlier today, Australian officials said Sydney will end its hotel quarantine for vaccinated passengers when scheduled international flights restart in Australia. Starting on November 1st, vaccinated travelers who test negative for COVID-19 before flying to Sydney will be able to avoid 14 days in hotel quarantine. The winding down of the state's pandemic restrictions was announced 4 days after Sydney came out of its 106-day lockdown. And don't touch that dial, because after this break, we'll be back with your weather and sports. Stay tuned.
Nadie le está diciendo que usted tiene que quedarse aquí.
After years of sending money home to build her dream house, Mama Icha yearns to return to Colombia to live out her final days. But with a family divided, she finds anything but a dream. La Casa de Mama Icha on POV.
Monday night at 10 on WNMU-TV.
Andrew Hoover, and I am here with your weather forecast for today. If you look behind me, it looks like a very sunny and beautiful Marquette campus today. Moving on, if you take a look, it is going to be partly cloudy with a temperature of 58. Winds will be moving barometric pressure will be 29.83 and falling. Looking at tonight, it is going to be partly cloudy with a low of 44. Winds will be west-northwesterly at 18 miles per hour. Moving on to tomorrow's conditions, it is going to be partly cloudy and 58 degrees is the high, and winds should be moving west-northwesterly at about 17 miles per hour. Now looking around at Marquette, in the Sioux it's going to be 63 degrees and sunny. Manistee 55 degrees and raining. In Escanaba 56 degrees partly cloudy, and Menominee will be 54 degrees and cloudy. Moving on to Iron Mountain 56 and partly cloudy, and 53 and partly cloudy in Ironwood. Houghton 56 and partly cloudy, and in our beautiful Marquette 58 degrees and partly cloudy. Now looking ahead at the conditions throughout the week, it'll be 59 degree high, sunny, 44 low on Sunday, 64 degrees high, 51 degrees low and sunny on Monday, and Tuesday will be partly cloudy with a high of 58 and a 50 degree low. Moving on to Michael Cudahy, he will have your sports recap.
A lot of action this weekend for NMU athletics. Starting tonight, we have the hockey team taking on the United States National Development Team program, which features Jimmy Snuggard, Frank Nazer, and Rutger McGroarty. AJ Vanderbeck is looking to continue to lead the NMU Wildcats in scoring as Joe Nardi and Ben Newhouse look to lead a power play that crushed St. Thomas last week. And with Notre Dame coming to town, NHL draft pick Hunter Strand and 8 other drafted players will come to the Berry Saturday as NMU to take on NMU as the Wildcats look to get on the national map with a big upset win. And not to leave out our football team, the Wildcats take on the Michigan Tech Huskies tomorrow at noon. Junior quarterback Will Ark comes in after throwing 7 touchdowns on the season and 770 yards. Nate Lejeune will look to sack Drake Davis and devastate the backfield in what looks like to be one exciting rivalry game tomorrow at the Superior Dome.
Well, it's always fun to hear what's coming out from NMU, but I have a very interesting story, one that's possibly out of this world. In Ontario, a woman woke up to an intergalactic stranger sharing the bed with her. To be honest, it's a meteorite from outer space. Ruth Hamilton woke up to her dogs barking and she was blinded from debris from her ceiling. After seeing the hole in her ceiling and calling 911, she turned to see a watermelon-sized rock just inches away from where she was laying her head. What police suspected to be debris from a nearby construction site was identified actually as a meteorite as experts at Western University in London. After this experience, Ruth Hamilton gained to a news perspective and stated that she'll never take her life granted again. And that's all the time we have today for you on Public Eye News. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Ross Ray.
I'm Michael Cudahy.
Make sure you tune in next week for some more Public Eye News.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.